Hi, guys. It is John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur here. Welcome once again to IFYL Inspirations for Your Life. It's so great to have you here tonight. And if you are new, well, I'd like you to take a look at the right hand side of your screen. There's a QR code. Use your phone and hit at that QR code and scan it, and it'll direct you over to my link tree with lots of great information for you and for everyone else in your life that you care about to improve their lives and everyone else you know, especially yours. And so every week we have a brand new master topic that starts on Saturday and ends on Friday. Lots of great stuff, including John's new daily day videos where we talk about what the day is known for. Tomorrow will be known for something, and there'll be a video posted on that. And you're definitely going to want to check that out. It's the first link on the link tree. And so great to have you here and following me. And if you're coming back, well, welcome back, my friends, colleagues, and associates. It's wonderful to have you here supporting me all this time and coming back and just being part of this great movement that I have. And hopefully some of the new people will become loyal just like you have that have popped in from time to time. I really do appreciate you. So let's get right into what that master topic is, shall we? Okay. How does discipline how do you handle, I guess the best question I want to ask is if we think about we're going to think about discipline for a moment, right? And so when we think about discipline, how does discipline basically lead to success? How does it lead to success? Well, it's really simple. Discipline in itself is a structure. We've talked about that. In order to be successful, you need to be disciplined. To be disciplined, it starts out by something called a habit. Now, what the heck is a habit, John? Well, we're going to go over to Merriam Webster, my good friends over there, and get you the definition right out of their wonderful dictionary, which will look at what a habit is. So, a habit, first of all, it's a noun. And according to Merriam-Webster, it's a settled tendency or usual manner of behavior, an acquired mode of behavior that has become nearly or completely involuntary. A behavior pattern acquired by frequent repetition or psychologic exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility of performance. So, a manner of conducting oneself, bodily appearance or makeup, the prevailing disposition or character of a person's thoughts and feelings, mental makeup over of what's going on. So let's talk about this from a point of perspective, because when we think about being successful, right, we have to think about the fact of being in a habit and an organism, characteristic, mode, growth, what have you. It all starts with a habit. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't get what a habit is. Do any of you remember Pavlov's dog? Does anybody remember that? Okay. So Pavlov's dog, it showed us that dogs could be conditioned to salivate at the sound of a bell. And when they rang that bell repeatedly and then presented it at the same time they were giving food, well, guess what happened? The dog would salivate when you gave it food, but when you rang the bell and you presented it food and did that repeatedly, the dog started to build a behavior pattern to the bell. So now, when you didn't give the dog food, but you rang the bell, the dog still salivated. Now, this behavior would obviously have to be reinforced because after a while it would go away. So, Pavlov's dog experiment is actually, if I say, pretty cool. The most famous example of the classical conditioning was Ivan Pavlov's experiment with the dogs who salivated in response to the bell tone. Now, Pavlov showed us that when a bell was sounded each time the dog was fed, the dog learned to associate the sound with the presentation of the food. And so that is the most important thing here that I want to share with you, because a lot of times people think that it's going to just happen overnight. And I have to tell you, it's not. Conditioning. That's what happened with Pavlov's dog, right? So, what is classical conditioning? Well, classical conditioning is a type of learning in which an unconditioned stimulus is paired with a neutral stimulus and one can learn. For example, let's say, for example, you had a rubber band. Okay. Now, the rubber band itself is nothing, right? But now, if you take that rubber band, okay, and let's say you were to pluck it and it was to hit you in the skin, well, that would give you, basically a feeling to not want to do that anymore, right? But let's take something that doesn't have any negative tones to it or any negative feelings or pains to it. Let's just say that you like to go swimming, right? And so every time that there's a swimming pool around and you were to see the swimming pool and maybe hear the music, you want to go swimming. Now, let's take the same thing. Let's say the song was played, wouldn't it be nice if it were older? How did it was have to be that way? You know the song, right? California Girl. So if we took that song and now we kept playing it every time you went to the country club or you went to your pool, it's going to condition you. If we just play the song later on, guess what's going to happen? It's going to condition you to want to go swimming. This is why a lot of times people in school, could be in grammar school, high school, but a lot of times in high school, when people learn to drive for the very first time, they have this song and they always want to play the songs. It makes them feel comfortable. This is why a lot of baseball players that we know have a song that they play just before they get up to bat because it makes them feel comfortable. It conditions them to feeling in a peak state, and it really works. And so you might say, John, how does this work? Well, without getting into all the nitty gritty, it basically causes your nervous system to respond to the stimulus. And so when we think of classical conditioning, right, there's an unconditioned stimulus, okay? There's an unconditioned response. There's a neutral stimulus, is a conditioned stimulus, and a conditioned response. So the unconditioned stimulus, let's just say right now, let's say, for argument's sake, is going to be the song, unconditioned stimulus, right? The unconditioned response, okay, is that whenever we're by the pool, we just naturally, we get that feeling because we've gotten that naturally because we know we're going to go swimming. We feel really great. All right. The neutral stimulus, I should say, is really the song, okay? The conditioned stimulus becomes, well, it actually, we know that when you're by the pool and you're there, so you're conditioned, right? Because you're going to go swimming. The conditioned response is the fact that, oh, I feel so great and I want to go swimming and I feel cool, right? The unconditioned stimulus is going to be the song, right? And then we take that unconditioned stimulus and now we turn it into something that conditions a response, which links to the conditioned stimulus for conditioned results. And therefore, we feel great about going swimming. I know that sounds a lot, but I was trying to give this to you in like a real quick bird's eye view. Now, when somebody says to me, John, how do you make something from something else? Well, let's take this example. Let's just say, for example, that you were afraid of the dark, okay? And we could say something to you like, every time there's darkness, you just happen to notice how much it tends to make you at more peace and draws you deeper. But maybe that wouldn't work for you right away. So maybe what might make you comfortable, let's say it was a young kid and maybe you were giving them a teddy bear. Well, let's say that we gave the teddy bear to you and that made you feel really comfortable. Now, if I gave you the teddy bear and you were in the darkness, you would still feel okay. So now, if I conditioned that and you went into the darkness, I would basically have overwritten your program so that whenever you're in the darkness, now you feel really comfortable. But we'd have to keep reinforcing that stimulus. If we didn't, guess what would happen? Well, we would go back to being exactly the same way we were before. But let's get into success. Success is about patterns. Success is about stimulus. Success is about responses. Success is about doing things over and over and over again, right? And getting good results. Now, if we did something over and over again, it doesn't get us good results. Well, that would be the definition of insanity. And Einstein says if we do something over and over and over again, and we, are expecting a different results, that would be insanity. So, success is about patterns. When we start to realize what a pattern is in our life, things change. And now we get an entirely different perspective. And so with success, you might say to me, John, how do you become successful? Well, you have to understand where you want to go. And so if you put yourself in a peak state, you're always going to be thinking about that positive action, right? Even though people around you are going to be negative and people near you are going to say things, you're going to feel great because you're putting yourself in a peak state. Now, when we think about life, when we think about business, when we think about relationships, there's so much going on under the hood, and it can really pull a person down. What we can do is start to use other types of emotions to create other kinds of states to therefore make the person feel more comfortable. When we've made them feel more comfortable, now they're less likely to judge. They're less likely to feel worried or concerned or aggravated because we've alleviated the situation. We've altered the pattern that actually was causing you to feel pain or causing you to feel discomfort. That's really what the magic is. But a lot of people don't want to break a pattern, and it's because of this one thing. They don't like change. Why don't people like change? They're afraid of it. They're afraid that maybe they can't handle the change or it's going to be different. They don't know what it's going to be like. They don't like change because it's going to upset their world and they have to maybe learn something new. And that's a problem for people. So if change is the mother of helping us to be successful, why don't more people do it? I think the reason most people don't do it is because they've had bad experiences of things that have changed. Now, that doesn't mean that everything you change in your life is going to be bad. But just because you had one or two situations where something was bad, now you're like, oh my gosh, I better not change because if I do, everything's going to go haywire. No. See, that's making a generalization or a stereotype, if you will, saying that just because somebody wears a baseball cap, they must be a great baseball player. And the person may have never played baseball in their life. We're stereotyping. And people do this for a lot of reasons, race, religion, orientation. And when they put the stereotype out there, it really hurts not only the person, but it also hurts society because now you're creating the stigma of a situation that you believe is something and you've associated something when really that's not really what it was at all. However, because of a perception that you have put in your mind, you now believe that that's the way it is, right? For example, let's take one for giggles here. Time is money. Now, is time really money? We made the analogy for so many times that time is money because time causes us to either lose or gain money. So people just immediately equate time is money, right? And another one might be time is success. Time is experience, right? You don't hear these too much. And it's because we always hear the ones that cause people the most pain and grief. We never hear the ones that really give them a life of bliss. We just don't hear those because those aren't always shared. Those are like those golden gems. So if I was to take my phone right now and say that, let's say my battery was charging slowly. So now I could make a stereotype and say, well, all iPhones that are, let's say, iPhone 13 Plus or greater or less have a bad battery. Is that a stereotype? Absolutely. Maybe I'm on the road and this person's driving really terribly. And I made a stereotype saying that all people who drive in the middle lane are terrible drivers, or all people that go below the speed limit are terrible drivers. Would I be correct in my assumption? No, I wouldn't. But because of that premonition that I'm putting in there, it would keep me away from things. Let's try this in business. Business people are hard to do business with. All business people are hard to do business with. That's not true. But because of one or two situations that I had or you had, you decided to make this stereotype. And now guess what your brain said? Okay, that's what you're saying. That's what it is. You got it. Everyone in business is hard to do business with. Right away, coming right up, because that's what you asked for. That's the conditioning that you associated with it. You see, we don't have time for this tonight, but when you associate a condition, a feeling with something, it causes you to actually take on the characteristics, whether good or bad, and the attributes of that person or that thing, to now have that in your life. Even if that's not what you wanted, it's exactly the way it's going to be, regardless if you want that to happen or if you don't want that to happen. So how do we avoid this? I think the first thing I want to tell you is stay away from stereotypes. That's number one. Staying away from stereotypes is important. When you're in science and you're trying to make classifications, I get why we might have a stereotype. But we don't want a stereotype too general of something, because if we do, now we're going to exclude the possible potentials. Just the fact that I may not talk to this great business person because I said that all business people are hard to do business with. And now I might have missed that golden nugget, that golden gem, all because of a thought that I had and something that I presupposed on everybody when it wasn't the case. So when you make a stereotype, if you're going to make one, first of all, I recommend not making one. But if you're going to make one, let's make sure that the stereotype is valid to the situation. Like, for example, let's say we're talking about a cordless drill. And we might say something like, all cordless drills will eventually run out of power, and thus you need at least a second or third battery. That's a good stereotype to have, because all cordless drills will eventually run out of power, and we should have a second or third battery, or we're not going to be able to get our job done. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a pleasure, privilege, and honor to be with you again this evening on Thursday night, as it is every single evening. And I want to thank you for coming by tonight. And also remember to like, support, love, and just give me the cheer to my channel. Be sure to comment below, what does discipline mean to you? And has discipline helped you get closer to success? Or have you found that because you didn't have discipline, you didn't achieve that success? Tag your friends, your colleagues, and your associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. And then be sure to, share this out with everyone you know. And then go to my YouTube channel, John space E space Morley space serial entrepreneur. And look for that key phrase, ladies and gentlemen, to make that choice to buy my team and I a cup of coffee. You know, we'll be so grateful with those pennies and dollars. We'll invest into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, because, you know, making a stereotype in life is the worst thing you can do. Buy our team that cup of coffee, that watermelon, or that great, delicious, icy vanilla cone. And we'll be so grateful with those pennies and dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, new facilities, and even new staff to give you the most jaw-dropping motivational content. Make sure that you don't stereotype and let others stereotype you into a four-cornered room, and then wonder why you're only choosing one way, or maybe not choosing at all. Have yourself a great night. I'll be back tomorrow, Friday, to wrap up, yes, the question here that we've been talking about, which is how does discipline lead to success? We'll wrap that all up for you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow. So have yourself a great rest of your night.